Hey everybody, it is today, August 21st. I thought I would pop on since my last video was like a month ago. And I think in that video, I told you guys I would try to start going live like every Friday or something, but basically the last month was a roller coaster for me. I got in a really low, dark, depressed place to the point that I posted a status on Facebook that concerned a lot of people. And it concerned myself as well, but I'm past that. I'm in a much better mindset. I just went through a really bad time, like thinking about my dad and asking myself why he had to pass away, why he didn't update his beneficiary things because I'm still going on with family drama with the beneficiary stuff. Um, and also at work, like work's been great, but it's been different because my provider left 2.5 weeks ago to pursue other things, and I'm basically just a float nurse now. So anytime that there is a nurse visits are any type of injection like a T shot or B12, shingles vaccine, flu vaccine, anything like that, pregnancy test, UTI check, blood pressure check. I do those. I also do prior authorizations through patients' insurances to make sure that their insurance will either cover or deny a medication and go from there. And I send medication refill requests to the providers and respond to patients on the messaging system we have. So I've just been floating this last month, and that was kind of an adjustment to me because I was used to going 5 days a week with my provider, seeing 30 patients a day, to just a hit or miss work. So that was kind of tough for me. And along with all of that, I was trying to get my health in check, and I'm still trying to get my health in check. It's not going great. I'm making better choices than I have been, but it's not like full on I'm back in my healthy mode. I do go to the gym and do cardio like 3 times a week now, but I eventually want to incorporate some strength training and like weightlifting and stuff like that. And I just have to get a hold of my eating habits because my eating habits are crap. And a lot of that has to deal with the stress that I've been under. And I really feel like once a lot of this stress goes away, I will be better. I will feel a lot better, and I'll be able to focus more on myself. Right now, I'm focusing on all the family drama that's going on. I'm focusing on things that necessarily shouldn't be a focus because it could be easier if other people chose to make it easy, but they're not. Um, so that's basically just like what I've been dealing with. And I just wanted to update you guys and let you know I am still here. I do like see my comments, and I do watch like new videos of people I subscribe to. I just haven't really had time to sit down and talk and let everybody know like what's been going on. But my cat scared me. I really do want to try and get my health under control because it's horrible. Like, I go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts at least once a day, sometimes more, and I know that that's horrible for me because it's full of sugar, and my clothes just don't fit, and I feel like crap. I feel sluggish and just nasty, and I know I feel that way because of the crap I'm eating. So I definitely want to turn it around and be healthy again. It is sort of like the end of August almost, so I'll probably do maybe like a September weight loss vlog and just see how that goes. I'll try and do that. Um, I've just been so busy with work, and I'm trying to calculate how much it's going to cost to like replace my doors because I need a new back door and I need a new front door. I still need to replace that wall over here. I have a lot of projects in this house that I need to really sit down and kind of get a quote and like price it out and make time for it, but it'll come. And I'm really not trying to stress. I've really been trying to be more self-centered with myself and really be spiritual with myself and get to know myself spiritually. I don't really know how to say it, but I'm just trying to process my emotions before I just say things. I'm trying to things that normally would annoy me, I'm trying to let them just go past me and not even bother spending time on it. And it's a lot easier said than done, but I'm trying, and that's what counts. So I've really just been trying to focus on myself, and it's not going great, but it's not a fail either. It's just some days are hit or miss, and it'll get better. But I am still here. I just wanted to check in with you guys and let you know I didn't just disappear. I've just been really busy and trying to take care of myself. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you guys know you can ask me. I just thought I would pop on and let you guys know that I'm okay. I'm here. And I did find my camera. That's an update. For like the last month or 2 months, I've been searching this house upside down. And I was like, how have I packed an entire house and moved everything except for my camera? And that camera was sentimental to me because I had pictures of my father with my dog Bo on there from my first relationship. And I was like freaking out. Like I had pictures of my dad on there. Like I have to find that camera. There's no way I left the camera. And one of my drawers in like my dresser was sticking out a little bit. So I got my boyfriend to take it out and we found the camera behind the drawer. So that really, really made my stress level go down because I was like, I have to have that camera. So I will start filming on my camera eventually. I just don't really know what to film for you guys because my job is kind of, and I'm trying to think of material and I'm trying to think of things I can talk to you guys about. So anything new going on with work. So earlier in the video when I first came on live, I was talking about how my provider left the practice about 2.5 weeks ago, so I'm a float nurse now. And basically, I just do nurse visits. So when a patient comes in and they need their blood pressure checked or their urine checked because they feel they have a UTI, or if they need some type of vaccine like a shingles vaccine or flu vaccine. A lot of college kids are coming in now because they're going to school, so they want like the Hep series or PPDs. I give those. I also do prior authorizations through insurance companies to see if a patient's insurance will cover or deny a medication that was prescribed to them. And I also route patient refill requests to the providers so they can get their medications refilled. And I communicate with our patients through the messaging system that we have, what if they need like an appointment scheduled or if they have just general questions or if they need lab work. I just communicate with them and answer their questions. I don't see like a panel of patients right now because my doctor is actually the new doctor. She is shadowing our providers now to see like how they run things and how to get an idea of how she wants to run things. So she won't officially be seeing patients until sometime in September. So I'll be floating until she officially starts. The last week of this month, I am filling in for a couple of doctors because their nurses are going to be out. They're going to do other things like vacation or just take time off. So I'll be filling in for those providers. But other than that, I'm just floating like a duck in the ocean. You know, I just go with the flow. That's really all I can do. We've been having a lot of meetings and annual trainings. They want us to go ahead and get those out of the way. So we had our annual training on like what verbal orders are, how standing orders work, and the type of protocols we have in place for certain orders. Sometimes doctors will try to get a nurse to do something that's not in our scope of practice, and basically the head honchos of the company told us, don't be afraid to say no to your doctor and say that is not my job, that is not my responsibility, or, you know, I don't feel comfortable almost losing my license or losing my license for doing something you need to do, so you need to put that order in. We have to get verbal orders to give vaccines during nurse visits, so if somebody walks in and says, hey, I need a shingles vaccine, or, you know, I need an MMR, basically we have to go to their provider if they're in the office, and we can get a verbal order, a written order, or have the provider put the order in themselves. That way, if anything tries to come back on anybody, there's proof, there's documentation that the doctor did order that vaccine or that lab draw or whatever. So that's basically all I've been doing at work, is just floating around, helping out when they need me. So I can't wait for my provider to actually start, because I want to establish like a workflow of how me and her are going to do things. And I just want to see patients and really start nursing again. I like having stability and I like having a schedule. Basically, floating, I'm literally sitting at the computer waiting for nurse visits to walk in, waiting for refills or messages to come in. And like prior authorizations from insurance companies will come through the fax machine, so people will pass them out. And I didn't do one single prior auth today, so I was like, oh my gosh. And on my 8-hour shift today, I did one nurse visit, just one. So some days are more busy than others, but today was so boring. Like, I couldn't deal with it. I am excited though, because I get a 3-day weekend this weekend, because Monday they have too many nurses, so I get to use some paid leave time to take Monday off. Start nursing school on Monday. Any suggestions with getting through pharmacology? There's so much information. Yeah, so sorry, I just hit that lighter. um, any assignment that your pharmacology instructor gives you, do it. Even if they say, like my pharmacology instructor basically gave us homework in a workbook and said, you only need to do pages blah blah blah, and then these other pages are optional. And usually it goes along with a chapter in the book. So I read the whole chapter, and in the workbook I just did the whole chapter in the workbook that went along with the chapter in the actual textbook, and tried to absorb as much information in a way that worked for me as possible. We made tons of drug cards in that class, and they come in handy so much. I still have all of my drug cards that I made in nursing school. I don't use them though. 4 times and graduated 2015. So definitely make note cards. Find a way of studying and memorizing that works for you. I don't know what it is, but I've always had the mind of a sponge. So if I look at something a couple times and just keep repeating it to myself, I'll remember it. Or your teacher might have certain ways of making you remember things, like anything, any medication that ends with LOL is a beta blocker for heart. So you know it's cardiac. You know it's going to help regulate blood pressure. Statin drugs, anything that ends in statin, pravastatin, simvastatin, rosuvastatin, those are all cholesterol medications. They're going to help regulate your cholesterol levels. So you really just have to learn what's like in the best way possible that's good for you to learn it. Some people are visual learners. Some people learn better when they write things out, which is like me. If I visually see it and I read it over and over again, I retain it better. I can't have someone talking to me, because then I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever, in one ear and out the other. If I write it and I see it a lot, I'm going to remember it. Highlight in your textbook if you have to. Make notes. I had one notebook for every class. That way, when I was in that class, I could write down anything that I needed to write down. But pharmacology, like in our program, it really wasn't too bad. Our instructor had really good ways of helping us remember things, and to be completely honest, a lot of the drugs we remembered were the generic name, not the actual brand trade name. So, like, instead of rosuvastatin, instead of Crestor, we learned that rosuvastatin was the generic name of Crestor, and it helps regulate your blood pressure. Metoprolol or Lopressor, we never really talked about Lopressor. It was always metoprolol, because we learned about LOL medications, and that regulates your blood pressure. And she just had certain ways of helping us remember. And the way we did our homework and our note cards, she would assign certain note cards for certain nights, and it was always the same class of medications: antidiuretic, antiemetic, and however you say it, for not throwing up. And then, she would just go through each different class of medications and have us write them out. And I don't know, that really helped me. And when we went to clinical, I had my bag, my clinical bag, with all the note cards that I ever wrote in my pharmacology 1 and 2 classes with me. And anytime our instructor was like quizzing us on something, I would pull it out if I didn't know it, and I'd be like, oh, okay, that's what this is. And I would like make a mental note, like, now I know. Um, so just find a good way that helps you remember things. Pharmacology, don't let it intimidate you, especially if you're in a fast-paced program, because it can seem overwhelming at first, but it's only overwhelming if you let it be overwhelming. Like, I always went into every class with the mindset, like, I'm going to own this class. The quicker I get this class done, the quicker I'm going to graduate and take my NCLEX and work. So you just have to stay positive. If you're going to know you're going to do bad in that class the first couple of weeks after you have assignments and tests. As soon as you see that you're failing, that's when you need to get help. Don't wait until the last minute. And you can ask for extra credit. Maybe your instructor will give you extra credit. I know mine did sometimes. We could make extra drug cards or do extra activity things in the workbook and turn it in for extra credit. Sorry, my mom's texting me. Any suggestions? I failed my P and NCLEX 4 times and I graduated in 2015. I'm doing UWorld now. So I never used UWorld, so I don't know how that app works, but I use the PN Mastery app. I didn't even buy or download like the full version. I just used the trial version that you can get for free. And every day I would do 50 to 100 questions on the PN Mastery app. And that's how I passed, I guess, on my first try. You really have to take your time taking the test. I must say it's good. Yeah, so you have to remember that a lot of those apps and a lot of programs like Kaplan, I have anxiety. Yeah, test anxiety can really get a hold of some people. Testing programs like Saunders or Kaplan, which is what my school used, they're always going to over prepare you for the test to make it seem like it's so hard. And then when I went in to take my test, they were asking me these simple questions. And I'm like, is this a real question? Like, I literally would sit there, read the question, and I'm like, there's no way it's this easy. And I would reread the question 2 or 3 times. And I'm like, they're really asking me this. Like, this is so simple. And then my questions got harder, and they were all select all that apply. So that's how I knew, like, I was kind of either at the line or above it. And then it would drop down to an easier question, and I'm like, oh crap, I fell below that line. I fell below the passing line. Like, I got to bring it back up. So the majority of my questions were select all that apply. My computer shut off at either 80 or 85 questions, something like that. The whole screen went blue. Like, it just literally just like a power outage, just pew, gone. My name, questions, everything disappeared. And I was like, holy crap. Like, I was so nervous. I listen to Mark Klimek also, and he says when you miss easy questions, that's how you fail. Yeah, so the easy questions, basically they're giving you these simple, easy ones to help bring you back up at or above the passing level. And as long as you're trending and you keep trending right above at the line or right above the line, you'll pass the test. And I always tell people that ask me, like, a bunch of medical assistants that go to my school, I'm sorry, a bunch of medical assistants that work at my job want to go back to school for LPN or RN, but they're scared because of everything you have to learn and all that stuff, and they've heard that, taking your NCLEX, if you go all the way up to 200 some questions, you're stupid. No, that does not mean that you are stupid. Some people have test anxiety. Some people have a harder time understanding these questions. Sometimes they word these questions, and I would literally, in the middle of class, like my last class preparing when we were getting ready to graduate, they did like the preceptorship, and you learn to be a nurse or whatever, and we were practicing for NCLEX. We would practice questions together as a class, and like we'd go around the room and read them out loud. And people are texting me. Of course they're going to text me when I'm filming finally. We would read them out loud, and I would read questions out loud, and I would look at my instructor and be like, what is this even saying? Like, this is a stupid question. I don't understand what they're saying. And then book world is completely different than actual nursing world, but when you take the test, it has the perfect book world answers. And when you select it, it's like, okay, I'm never going to do this in real life because that's too time consuming or that's stupid. Like, you're going to see questions and you're going to be like, what? But make sure that when you see questions that trip you up, you think like book smart. You think of, okay, if I was taking a practice test in my textbook, this is what they would want. They want the book way, not real world. So don't let those trip you up. But the select all that apply, I literally pretended I read the question, read the answer choices, read the question again, and I was like, all right, so I'm the nurse going in this room to do wound care on this patient. What's the first thing I'm going to do? And I would read the list of selections, select what I would do, and then after that I would do this, and then after that I would do this, this, and that, and then move on to the next question. Once I was done making my choices, I didn't go back and look at the choices I selected. I simply clicked next to go to the next question because I knew if I reread what I picked as my answer for those questions, I would sit and debate all day. And when I finally got to take my NCLEX, basically in my head I was like, Amberly, you either know this or you don't. You're going to pass or you're going to fail. If you fail, you're just going to have to pay the fee to retake it. That's it. It doesn't mean you're not a good nurse. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. You just weren't ready. And I left the building and found out I passed like a week later because that hurricane or tropical storm had hit the main headquarters, that the NCSBN whatever building. So I didn't even get to know. Usually it takes 1 or 2 days to find out if you pass. I couldn't even find out until like a week later until they got power up and all the results came in. So I was on edge, to say the least. But I was on edge. I took my test on a Friday, waited that whole weekend, and then I think that Wednesday I finally found out that I passed. But it's all worth it. You just have to really take your time and analyze what you're reading and put yourself in the nurse's shoes that the question's asking you. And that's how I passed. So, sorry my face is all up in your faces, but I'm going to read this. I'm fixing to order a Littmann stethoscope. I've heard with Littmann 2, sometimes you can't hear sounds that well. So Littmann 3 was suggested, but it's more expensive. Should I start with 3? So I actually have, I have a Littmann Classic 3 or whatever they're called. And I got mine on sale. Plus I had it engraved with my name, comma, LPN on the bell. So that if someone tried to steal my stethoscope, I could be like, no, that's mine. I got that on sale, and I got my color, like a dark plum purple color. It was like 140 some bucks with shipping and handling, and it came straight to my door. So I definitely would invest in a great stethoscope, especially like if you already know that you want your specialty to be cardiology. Go ahead and splurge, especially if you want to buy yourself a gift or if your family wants to get you a nursing gift. Splurge on the cardiac Littmann stethoscopes because that's going to be your specialty. You definitely want to listen to their heart correctly. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the cheaper stethoscopes. I had an MDF Instruments purple one and I loved it. And then when I got hired with the company I work for, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and splurge and buy my first Littmann. I've been a nurse for over a year now and I'm going to do it. And I did it. But I used my MDF Instruments one. I actually won that one for free through a giveaway in my area, and I loved it. I could hear perfectly good. But I just splurged and bought a Littmann, and I love it. Found the Littmann 3 from All Heart for $89. Yep. So you can definitely shop around. Definitely check Amazon. If you use Facebook, you can look on like the nursing groups and see if anybody has links for cheaper Littmann stethoscopes. But one thing you don't want to play around with is somebody's blood pressure or listening to heart and lung sounds. So investing in a good stethoscope, especially if you know your heart is in nursing and you're going to be a nurse for a while, it's worth the $200 or the $100. And some people hear better with the cheaper ones. Some people don't want a Littmann. If you can hear and you can do your job properly, do it. Like, you don't have to buy a cheap one. You don't have to buy an expensive one. Find one that works for you. I personally love my Littmann. I can hear everything. And it's the bomb. Thebomb.com. Okay? I would never knock a Littmann. Like, I love it. I can't believe that you've already spent over $1,000 already trying to retake this thing. Um, but just know that you have to learn from your mistakes. So you already know you have test anxiety. Try to chuck it at the door as soon as you're on the way to take your test. Pep yourself up, give yourself that positive pep talk in the car and on the way to the testing site. You know, you've got this. You know what you're doing. Today I am not going to fail. Today I'm passing because I'm a nurse and I want to start working with my license. I want to be on the board of nursing. I worked really hard to pass nursing school, and now you're going to pass your test. You just have to really think positive. Um, and that's one thing that I am trying to get into is like manifestation, trying to manifest in things that I want to happen. I do solely believe that you are the main part of making things happen, but if you believe in things and you really pray or whatever you believe in and you really want something to happen, it's going to happen. So you just have to be positive, you know. Failure is not an option at this point. That's what you need to tell yourself. Excuse me. Failure is not an option, and just be positive. And a lot of people, especially where I work, some people aren't receptive to my positive energy. And the reason I'm so positive most of the time is because I spent my middle school and most of my high school years miserable. I was Debbie Downer, negative Nancy. I wouldn't say I hated life and hated myself. Hated it because I just hated it because people were so mean to me. They joked me because I was fat. I didn't have a lot of friends. I hung out with what they called the weird kids, with colored hair. They wore black trip pants and they were emo and gothic or whatever. I mean, I was friends with all kinds of people, but I hung out with like the outcasts. And I just spent a lot of my time being like in my shell. So now that I'm out of my shell and I've developed my own personality and I'm myself and I'm a happy, bubbly person, I try to I embrace it and I try to make other people happy and look towards things. And I work with a couple Debbie Downers. They're always in a bad mood and I walk away from them. I don't like being near them. I don't sit next to them. As soon as they start complaining, I get up and walk away and I go to my car on my lunch break or something because I just don't want to hear the negativity and I don't have time for negativity. I'm going through a lot right now, but I still try to be positive and I leave that crap at the door. So that's that. Is there a big difference between LPNs and medical assistants? So most of the time, medical assistants, they're not on like a board of nursing. They get a diploma, which I have a diploma, but I'm also on the board of nursing. But medical assistants, they take the certified test and then they become a CMA, which is a certified medical assistant. Medical assistants can administer certain medications. I know at my facility they cannot give a testosterone injection. I have a low battery already. They cannot administer testosterone injections. And what else can't they do? That's really it. As far as their learning, I don't exactly know like what they learn in school. Because LPNs learn the basic of nursing, and terminology for medical assistants is a little different. They don't know extensive things like a nurse would. Like I met one medical assistant one time and she didn't know what what orthostatic hypotension was, and she didn't know what the doctor meant when they wanted a ortho hypo reading, which is when you get the lying, sitting, standing blood pressures. So I guess their method of learning is different in their programs, but where I work, most of the medical assistants can do everything we do except administer testosterone injections. So that's all I know. I mean, they seem like nurses to me. We all work really hard together, so they're nurses. Everyone I see is like, oh, you're a nurse, Even the women that are like the secretaries or the assistants that do scheduling, I call them nurses all the time because, they can triage patients when they call up to a certain point and then they'll transfer it over to an MA or a nurse. At my facility also, medical assistants, can't really do hospital follow-ups. If we're scheduling one, the nurses have to do the hospital follow-up questionnaire. Sometimes the MA will. They can do the unlicensed one, which are, I don't know what kind of questions they have, but usually when we triage them and give them their hospital follow-up questions, it's just asking simple things like, did they change any medications that you were previously on? Did they administer any new medications and prescribe them to you to continue taking? Did they give you any medical equipment? Do you have any concerns? And what type of symptoms did you experience that made you feel you needed to go to the ER? Most of the time, the patients that go in there, it's for chest pain or tingling, basically heart attack symptoms. Are you going back to school to get your associate's degree in nursing? I always get asked if I'm going back to school, and I really honestly do not know if I am, just because I like what I do, and there's plenty of opportunity for me to learn where I'm at now to become a more seasoned LPN. And to be honest, registered nurses have so much more responsibility. Like, being an LPN is very, it's a heavy workload. You do have responsibility, you do have some paperwork, but like registered nurses can write certain orders that LPNs can't, and it's just basically, if I was to go back and get like my registered nursing degree, I would primarily be in a hospital because doctors' offices don't need registered nurses. That's why there's CNAs, MAs, and LPNs. And I like the Monday through Friday schedule, so I don't know. I've also been thinking about going back to school maybe for something other than nursing, like nutrition, becoming a nutritional counselor, or helping people that have kind of gone through emotional and binge eating like me, and just helping people live a healthier, fuller life, because that's what I'm trying to get back on the wagon with. But yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna go back. I really don't. I really don't. And of course, people that I like hang around with, they're like, you should just go back, get it done. And it's like, okay, well, you didn't really go through LPN school and you don't know how hard it was for me. So until you do that, then tell me to go back to school, because you'll pull your hair out some days, you'll cry, you're going to get stressed. And I just, I just don't know if I want to go all through that. My phone is about to die. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. I will try and hop on this Friday. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in. I wish my phone wasn't dying right now and I don't have an outlet near me. So I hope you guys have a great night, and I will make a new video for you guys soon.